Hi guys, my name's SibTutor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about learning things, because learning things is something that I talk about an awful lot. Learning things is something that everybody that goes through coaching and stuff like that should take away, in my opinion. And of course education is just crazy important anyway, especially in the modern world where everything is becoming more advanced. More menial jobs and things like that don't require training or education are being slowly phased out, to one extent or another. We don't have as many manufacturing or as many kind of mining and things like jobs in those kind of areas as we once did because of automation. So education is becoming more and more and more important. Um, but there's one thing that, especially as we're approaching, as far as I'm aware, exam season for people, and as I know a lot of you guys are students, or at the very least are around the age of either kind of end of college, beginning of university, end of school, beginning of university kind of age, depending on where you are. I wanted to go through just a video on 7 points on how to learn things quickly. And I'm not saying necessarily in regards to um, dealing with how to learn certain skills, because skills are a bit difficult to learn swiftly if you're not naturally kind of focused on doing so. Because some things do just take practice, and practice is again something that I've talked about in regards to all kinds of things in terms of kind of skills around personal control and emotional control and stuff like that. I've even touched on it earlier this week. Um, and so, I want to touch in on this because it's something that I especially struggled with in school myself. I a lot of the time was very good at recalling the information directly for myself, because I learned things very quickly. I'm a bit of a sponge when it comes to random knowledge or stuff that I read and stuff that I pick up. And so as a result, the learning part in those regards was fine, but that would mean that I would usually suck up so much information that having the specifics, using the right words on exam papers and stuff like that just wasn't always there. I'd be able to explain it in my own words. I'd be able to sit down with a teacher and tell them everything that they wanted to hear in regards to an answer, but that was verbal. That was all very, it's up here, I've got it all, and now I can put it out straight to you and I can explain it in my own way. And I can sum it up and all the rest of it. But when it came to an exam paper or something like that, I personally had real difficulty just getting all those specific terms and things like that, because I'm a big picture person, and I wasn't given much help in the way of like how to break stuff down and learn it and get over stuff, particularly easily, at the time. And so, now when I've been through all kinds of other education, and I've helped now in training, teaching, and coaching others, I've got a few points here that I want to go through with you guys, just to help you guys and try and make your lives easier when it comes to your exams and things. So the first one, and this is possibly the most important, that just didn't get touched on when I was in school really at all. And this is chunk down the information. And what do I mean by that? When you've got a large piece of information, then that's the big picture, right? But at times it's very hard to take in that entire big picture all in one go. So much information, so many moving parts, so many specific terms and whatever else, in which case, break it down into associated groups. And then within those groups, that still might not be useful. It still might be too big, in which case, break it down some more. When I'm coaching people, they will come to me with this big life goal. And it's like, great, that's great. So, what things do you need to do to achieve that life goal? Oh, well, here are all of these smaller things. Right, okay, so which one of those is most important? Right, this one. Okay, so what things do you need to do that? Oh, well, here are all these other smaller things that add up to that next big thing. Right, okay, so which is the most important of that? Right, this one. What do you need to do for that? Oh, well, there are 3 things I need to do for that one in particular, and well, could you do those straight away? Yeah, I could do those 3 things. Right, so you got those 3 things to cover this one big thing, which then covers part of the next big thing up. and then you can move on and you can do all the rest and you can just work your way through. There are lots of ways that people organize doing this. Like, I have my lists that I jot down, and I use spreadsheets a lot for that kind of keeping track of stuff, and kind of how I'm breaking stuff down. But find a way that works for you on how to prioritize, how to break things down into smaller chunks. Because otherwise, as I said, you can lose track of everything in this big thing if you try to just absorb it all at once. Give you just the same way you're eating food. When you're taking on information, you're digesting it. If you try and eat an entire steak, no, 10 12 pound steak, pound, ounce. I mean, same with a pound steak, but with a kind of 12-ounce steak or something. You trying to shove all of that in your mouth, you are going to either not be able to chew, or you are going to choke and die. There's a reason why we cut our food up. There's a reason why we should cut our information up so that we absorb it bit by bit instead of trying to just shove the whole thing inside us. The next thing, and this is an important one to tie into chunking, but point number two is focus on one thing at a time. Our brains do not work in parallel. We do not multitask. When people are multitasking, what their brains are actually doing is just jumping between different tasks very quickly and effectively. Now, some people, I'd like to count myself in this, some people are quite good at jumping between numerous different tasks all at the same time. But they're not doing everything at once. They're going this one, then 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 back to that one. And so with that, we need to keep in mind that our brains work in kind of serial, one thing after the next. They don't work in parallel with two things going on at the same time. I mean, there are some people who have had the, corpus callosum, the band that runs between the two hemispheres of the brain, where they've been cut, and so their hemispheres can work somewhat more independently of one another. But for the most part, people don't have that, and your brain's working as one structure in one direction on one line of things. In which case, give yourself a break. Don't overload yourself. Go, right, I need to do one thing at a time. So when you've chunked down that information, when you've cut it down into those little bite-sized pieces that you can work with more easily, absorb more easily, focus on whichever one is most important. Focus on that first one, or focus on what's easiest or what's hardest or whatever. Focus on those and get them out of the way one at a time. Yeah, because otherwise, as I said, you're going to overload your brain. You're going to have too many things going on at once, and as a result, even if you do all of them passably, you're going to have lowered the quality of work, the quality of learning that you're doing up until that point. Now, number 3 is an important one, and this is important for just anything, really, and it's kind of the core of a lot of stuff in business, and it's the core of a lot of stuff in life generally, as well as coaching specifically. But this is learn from your mistakes. Yeah, if before you tried to cut down your information into a certain number of chunks and tried to take it all on board and it just wasn't settling, and you didn't get a great grade on that test because of just not taking that information on as well. Right, so that's not a bad thing. You've just learned that what you just did either wasn't chunking it down enough, wasn't the best way for you to do it for yourself, or whatever else. Yeah, if you're learning from your mistakes, then you're kind of finding out all your own weak spots that you can patch up as you go along. And this is important. Learning through mistakes is incredibly important. I can't stress this enough. You're not going to get anywhere in life if you don't make mistakes, if you don't try and fail, because when you try and fail, then that's when you look for a different path, you reappraise, you progress, you innovate. And so the important thing, again, something else I touched on earlier this week, is you need to make sure that you forgive yourself. Something goes wrong, or you don't do as well as you could have done, take a deep breath, calm yourself down, forgive yourself. You're human, you're not perfect, you never will be. And so as a result, learning from those mistakes is crazily important. You just need to take on those lessons, that those mistakes are teaching you, so that then those lessons can be applied to the next thing that you need to learn. The next thing, fourth thing on our list here, is you need to make sure that you don't burn yourself out. Like, the average person has between a 20 and 40 kind of minute attention span. Don't push yourself so far beyond that, because if you're already, most places in school have like hour lessons, right? And so, you don't have a lot of time to take a break or whatever else during that period. And you have a lot of kids that their attention spans aren't that long. They're not an hour long. And so you get them coming in, first 20 minutes of the lesson, okay, they might be just dealing with it. But then, usually the first 20 minutes of the lesson is the teaching kind of part, is the part where they're presented what they're going to be learning. Or reviewing something from before which they've already potentially learned. And then you get into the next 20 minutes where they've probably been set tasks to do, or if there was a review part at the beginning of the lesson, now they're into the part that they're learning, and their attention is just starting to run out. They're not, probably between that 30 and 40 minute mark, their attention span's just dying. It's just disappearing. And then you've got the last 20 minutes of the lesson where they're being asked to produce work, where they're asked to do something, and they're not interested anymore. Their brain can't focus on it like as well as it could have done anymore. It's a problem. But when you're studying for yourself, when you're learning things for yourself, when you're practicing things for yourself even, give yourself whatever feels most comfortable. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whichever sits well with you. You can practice to increase your attention span, but still your body and brain tend to focus around probably no more than an hour. That's when you'll start to flag. And so, give yourself a break. Take a break. Stand up. Have a drink. Your body's, 70-something% water. And that water gets kind of processed out of you over time. So go, get up, have a walk. Get your blood circulating a little bit again. Have a drink, replace some of that water. Just refresh yourself. Have a snack, get some energy back on board, because your brain uses a lot of energy. And once you've done all those things, then come back to it, or come back to a different task or something like that. Don't burn yourself out attention-wise, because that does no one any favours, least of which you. The next thing is track your progress. And this is important, because if you aren't tracking your progress, then how do you know you're making any? And that's the main thing to take away from that. But there's another important thing to take away from tracking your evidence, and that is, if you're tracking yourself, keeping a track of what you're learning, how much you've learned, what you still need to do. Firstly, that's a little progress bar that you can go, oh, well, I'm here, I was there, and now I'm here, and all power to me. But then there's the other part of it. As you're progressing, you're going to have evidence of you doing so, be it the parts of the book that you've already been through that you can then refer back to, be it work that you've produced, test essays, mock exams. If you're practicing a more physical, functional skill of some sort, then you've got your prior pieces of work to go back to. If you're an artist or a designer of some sort, then you have previous designs. If you're looking at building and making things, I don't know, if you're an engineer or something like that, maybe, and then you've got other bits and pieces there that you can go and look at. Again, possibly learning from mistakes, but also just saying, right, well, now I've run into a problem with this new part that I'm trying to learn. Let's take a look back at the things that I've already done and see which things are like this and how did I overcome that issue with those things. It gives you that extra resource of where you have been before to go and see how you overcame obstacles before, how you tackled difficult situations, which bits you got right, which mistakes you still made that you then have learned from. It's all important to firstly, just go, if I'm not tracking where I am, then how do I know that I've actually kind of progressed? How do I know that I've done more than I had before? But also, by doing more than you have before and knowing that you've done more than you have before, you've got a just wealth of stuff that you have done that hopefully, to one extent or another, there is some tangible evidence of that you can go back and re-examine if you need extra help in the future. So the next thing, penultimate thing, number 6, is teach others. We learn so much more from other people, even when we're the ones teaching. You know, this is one of the reasons why, again, I'm bringing up at the beginning of each video or whatever else when I've been inspired by a friend, a client, a family member, or whatever, my girlfriend Hannah. Regardless of all of those things, you know, those people are regardless of everything else that I do with those people are the ones that bring ideas to me, bring questions to me, prompt me to go and find other information. In teaching them, in showing those people, especially when I'm coaching people, it reinforces the stuff that I already know. It gives me more evidence that the stuff that I know is correct or that it works. As per what I'm saying here, you know, my own experience of using these ideas to run forward, me applying them with others to their work, the stuff that I did with people when I was training them in corporate jobs and stuff like that. You know, I've seen these things take effect, and it was through me teaching and working and coaching and doing whatever with these other people that I gained that extra evidence, that I gained that extra confidence in myself, knowing what I was talking about, in these things that I'm talking about actually having the effect that I'm saying that they have. You know, it's so important to work with others, because again, as soon as we kind of move outside of ourselves and have to teach other people or work with other people, then, you know, it's easier for us. You know, if someone's having relationship problems, then one of the questions that I sometimes ask them, and they've come to me for coaching on it, and one of the things that I'll say is, okay, so one of your friends has come to you with this same problem that you've just had, and they say, oh, you know, this is what's going on. Right, so what advice do you give your friend? Right, so what's stopping you from taking your own advice? You know, it's all that kind of thing, because as soon as it's not you, as soon as it's outside you, it's easy to judge, it's easy to see all the parts around it. It's easy to, or at least easier, to throw out an idea towards it. When it's ourselves and it's inside, it's tough, because we're afraid for ourselves. Because we think we're aware of ourselves, but don't tend to be. You know, because we have all of our own hang-ups and we can't escape them because they're in here with us, or in here with us, and there's nowhere else that we can run that they can't follow. So teach others, because that way you gain your extra information, you gain extra confidence in what you're doing and saying, and more importantly, if there are problems along the way, you learn your ways around them through someone else. But then the last thing is that you need to turn it into a habit. And this is something that I do a fair amount, because even when I'm not learning anything new about coaching, or I'm not learning anything new about the other things that I do, and when I'm not developing my skills, when I'm not doing some kind of course or educational thing, I'm still learning something every day. I'm still going and using these other points to access other information, to make videos and talk to you guys, either in a technical sense with me learning more and more about editing every time I go and do it, or in regards to the subjects that I'm talking about, or in regards to just random stuff, fun facts, interesting things about the world, interesting things about about space. Yeah, new stuff that NASA has published, new studies that I come across. You know, sometimes I bring them to you guys. Sometimes I just go, no, do you know what? No one's going to be interested in this study about, I don't know, something to do with market changes in the market, or something to do with other areas of economics or psychology or whatever. You know, there are certain things that I'm like, yeah, this sounds interesting. This is what people may very well want to hear. But other stuff that I'm just like, this is so obscure that no one would give a shit about this apart from me. But again, that's still something that I'm doing every day. There's still something new to learn every day. Every time I come across this stuff, I break it down. Every time I come across this stuff, I look at it one thing at a time, looking into one specific area first and then, you know, moving on. Each time, if I've made a mistake, if I've not got some information right, and you know, if I've done whatever, then yeah, next time I'll do better. Next time I'll check more sources. Next time I'll look into more stuff. Next time I will go over the statistics in a different way so that they sit in my head a bit better. You know, I don't take more than, for me, about half an hour to do it, because even though I know I can sit there and concentrate for longer, why would I? If I can absorb as much of it as possible within that time, and I'm sharp, I'm attentive. If I don't take in all the information, fine, I can come back to it in half hour after I've had a drink, had a snack, sorted out the things that I need for my next client, finished doing a video, you know, whichever thing. I track my progress, which if it's one article, one study and stuff like that, it's usually a case of just getting to the end of the study, you know, finishing reading, finishing going back over stuff and making sure that I got it in my head. But, you know, still keeping a track of my progress. And in regards to progress of my knowledge base as a whole, then yeah, I might save the statistics. I might save a little note in Word or something with my thoughts on it. You know, just off to one side, a few kilobyte file that just has a few lines of text on my thinking, the things I learned, the stuff that I did. Teaching others, well, yeah, fine, I'll go and tell Hannah about it. I'll go and talk to my family about it, my friends about it. If it's relevant to a client, then it's something that I might bring up with them. You know, it's just, there it is. And again, after doing all of those things and doing it every day to one extent or another, then yeah, it's become a habit. And so I'm always looking for new information. I mean, I've always had a very kind of hungry mind, but it's something that now I do more habitually. I'll just go and look for more stuff. And so yeah, you know, it's something that over time, the more you do it, the more you practice. If you do it every day, then it becomes a habit, and it just becomes this thing that you do, this thing that you do whenever something new needs to be learned, every day or every week or every time you do a course or whatever else. You know, it all kind of builds up over time, and these are useful things to be able to do. You know, learning quickly, taking on more information at a higher speed, very, very beneficial thing. You know, it means that you don't waste as much time and energy over something because you're not stressing over it, because you've got your method, you've got these things that you can run your subject matter through so that you learn it. And then on top of that, you've not wasted much time because it's taken you less time because you're running it through this process that kind of condenses stuff and makes it easier for you to digest. So, you know, there you go, guys. Are there any other things that you would add to this list in regards to helping you learn, pick up new information and stuff like that? If there are, I'm sure people would benefit from them, so please leave them down in the comments. Otherwise, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the video later. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, then please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the video later. Take care.